Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to your own Silicon Valley Tech Talks channel. This is your host, Faisal Wattu from San Jose, California. The topic for our discussion today is semiconductor industry. Semiconductors are integral part of any electronics, whether it's computers, smartphones, tablets, you name it. We are fortunate to have Maryam Rofougaran as our guest today. Maryam is founder and CEO of Movandi. Movandi was founded in 2016 as a semiconductor startup. Maryam is a transformational inventor, technology executive, and entrepreneur in the field of electrical engineering. Before Movandi, she had founded another company, Innovent Systems, which was acquired by Broadcom. At Movandi, Maryam's focus is millimeter wave technology. Millimeter wave is a key innovation which enables wireless communication over 24 GHz frequency band and above. So without any further delay, let's go and talk to Maryam and learn more about semiconductor industry and millimeter wave technology. Hello Maryam, welcome to our show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, Miriam, semiconductor space is saturated, and traditionally it has been dominated by certain set of players like Qualcomm, NXP, Samsung, Intel, etc. So, what is the problem which Movandi is solving, which these big players were not already solving? And do you believe that Movandi's differentiation is sustainable?
Yeah, so very good question. You know, as we progress and we get to the next generation and trying to get into all this, the intelligent world that everyone is talking about with AI and digital twin and metaverse and everything else besides just regular connectivity and fixed wireless access and satcoms. So there is a whole lot that is being talked about, and there is a whole lot of ambition in trying to get to this intelligent world and cities, which require, as I mentioned, AI for sure. It requires satellite communications. It requires the just traditional network upgrades and AR, VR, a lot of technologies. And these require, they won't happen without high performing front ends, especially on the analog RF, which are not only high performing, it's a system solution that looks at the whole system, brings the best performing, but also at the same time cost effective solution that can address many different applications, all the way from infrastructure that needs to be put in place as well as going into devices. And so there is a whole lot that will be happening in the next decade or two. And, uh, and that's where basically we believe that Movandi is playing a big role. Today, we're working on as you know, we have focused on millimeter wave and 5G mainly because we believe that millimeter wave has to be there for many of these applications to be able to basically happen. As you know, this is my second startup. I had first one, which was Innovent, which enabled basically the whole connectivity. Prior to that, there was really no connectivity. And then we became Broadcom after acquisition and continued to build the whole wireless. So there are uh, and again, I was executive in big company and I've been entrepreneur doing the small companies. So there are always areas that big companies can do really well, but uh, especially when it comes to new technologies where you have to bring a whole lot of new innovations and focus. It becomes not that they don't have smart people and it's not that they're not doing the right thing, but it becomes very difficult when you have to maintain your P&L and you're making sure that you're actually shipping your existing and upgrading the products that you have. So that's where startups come in. If you look at every big companies that's making big impact right now, they have big products. Most likely 99% or maybe all of it, the initial innovation and technology started with the startup, which either grew to become that big company or they brought in to create a new technology. And I think that's what Movandi, for example, is doing in 5G millimeter wave, and we're hoping to get into sensing, communication, all that. But same with most other startups, and that's the value, which I believe will remain to be like that. And you can get around bringing small companies to create more innovations.
As you mentioned, Maryam, that Movandi has a lot of focus on millimeter wave technology. So if you look at 5G, it has mid-band slash low bands and millimeter wave bands. People argue that mid bands and low bands are really incremental step from 4G. It's really 4G plus, and the real disruptive innovation in 5G is millimeter wave. But at the same time, at least as of today, we see that millimeter wave is limited to fixed wireless use case and so on, right? Because we don't have mobile device ecosystem, power consumption, cost concerns, lack of coverage, and need for directionality. So going forward, do you believe that millimeter wave technology can scale, or it will be restricted to niche use cases like fixed wireless access?
Look, I think you put it in the right words. The challenge with millimeter wave, and I would say the wrong myth that everyone has is that because of these challenges, which is directionality and getting blocked by the blockage, and uh, there is nothing that can be done, and the millimeter wave cannot be used beyond just maybe one or two applications, which you named, fixed wireless access, which just starting, right? I mean, so far they've been doing it in mid-band, but I think again, look at every revolutionary technology or application that has happened in the past. They all seemed impossible, and there are always ways that you come with innovation and you can solve those challenges. Is millimeter wave the right solution? Absolutely. If these challenges were not there, why would they not use it? Because you get huge bandwidth and huge, that spectrum is wide open. You can do a whole lot in it. But it does have those challenges and they need to be resolved. And just like any other, difficult situation, people will work on this. We have been focusing on this. We actually have solutions. We have proven that we can use our technology, which is more than just our chipsets, core technology, including our own light modem, etc., that builds solutions we call it smart repeaters. And this is just the beginning of it. There is more that will be done on that part. What we have done with smart repeater basically proves that you don't need to bring fiber to every corner, which takes time. You don't have to go spend a lot of money to buy these devices with the whole network, etc. You can just extend the coverage and at the same go around the corners, but do it effectively. And it's not just just amplifier that create noise, etc. This has part of it actually. Everything we have done is already part of REL 17 repeaters in 3GPP and a couple of other things that we have been working on as well. So I think people are understanding this will get solved. It's just that you know the initial image of everything is difficult. So these repeaters, effectively, we have shown that can bring the cost of deployment by 50 to 80% lower. They can be deployed much faster, and as once operators start getting a little bit more into it and start putting this in place, then many of these devices will have also solutions. So it's a chicken and egg. So you put the infrastructure, then devices are going to come up, device numbers are going to go up, infrastructure has to. So it's something that will happen, no question about it. It's a matter of time when it's going to become really big, and it all depends on how much focus and how fast operators start putting it into place.
Mariam, just a quick follow-up on this. Some people have also talked about health concerns with millimeter wave technology. Would you share anything along those lines?
This is one of the most interesting comments that I've heard. And, you and I have been in this industry, right? I don't see any difference from millimeter wave versus, whether it's Wi-Fi, or it all depends with the amount of power that gets basically transmitted. And it's really not on the infrastructure side. You actually are better off having more of this infrastructure in a mesh kind of network with lower power than trying so that, it brings the devices closer to these units, right? Because where the problem usually is on the device side, on the mobile side. And that's there anyway. You have Bluetooth, you have Wi-Fi. So the transmit power on those, not receive, the transmit power on those devices need to be managed, which FCC already has all these restrictions based on, what all the analysis they have done. And it's to the minimum possible. But generally speaking, people should be cautious spending a whole day on the phone just talking when it's transmitting. That's not the right thing to do, I would say, right? But it has nothing to do with my community. It has nothing to do with there is really no health problem with this. It's just that people just get panicked and scared of anything new. And I'm hoping that that's going to go away soon.
So US government has approved $280 billion through Chips and Science Act recently. And the goal is to foster chipset manufacturing in United States and help the semiconductor ecosystem. To what extent you believe it will help the challenges faced by semiconductor startups today in US?
I think could be a major factor. I think it could be very effective, assuming it gets done right, right? So a lot of focus of CHIPS Act has been on manufacturing part of it so far, although the officials now understand that innovation, circuit design, and other parameters are important too. So I think it's great that CHIPS Act is trying to ensure that fab and manufacturing becomes more accessible, reliable. It doesn't get caught in the middle of geopolitics, etc. I think that bringing it to US is a great thing because it creates new opportunity, hopefully more excitement for students to go into semiconductor. But I think it's more of a global thing. It doesn't matter whether it's in US and Japan, or as long as it's alliance and they take advantage of their relationship and trying to enable the whole semiconductor and ensuring that you don't run into situations that we did the supply chain before on that front. But when it comes to, I'm glad that it seems like now the officials are understanding that they need to also ensure that innovation goes on, which comes with research institute, universities, as well as startups, which bring a lot of innovation to play. Um, it is critical because if you have a lot of fab and you cannot come up with designs and innovations to actually fill those fabs, what's the benefit of it, right? And I think again, one example is what we did in the past, where initially we brought integration into pure CMOS, our radio and baseband full SoC that enabled that whole market for devices to go into portable devices, etc. And that effectively improved the input to the fabs, which increased their output by billions and billions of devices. And that ecosystem has to go on. You need innovation, and I think that is critical for government to start putting more funding and support into it. It seems like they're trying to do that. We'll see how that goes, and hopefully they do the right thing. And also making sure that, especially in the US, there are more students to get more excited to go back into semiconductor because, unfortunately, for the past a few years or decade, all the students are just going into software because that's where money is, and that's where AI has had a lot of hype, and we really need to fix that, and hopefully we can bring more women into that as well.
True. Do you have any advice for girls who want to pursue technology or STEM's careers?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that we don't have so many women generally in technology and especially in semiconductor. And I think, part of it, there are a few things that are basically causing that. Um, they don't even know what semiconductor is. I didn't know it until I came here and I went to UCLA lab, right? All that was that I was really passionate about physics and math. So if you don't expose anyone, whether it's a boy or girl, to this technology, then they wouldn't even know if they're interested. But beyond that, I think it's always hard when you're in minority in any field. It can look scary, and I know a lot of smart and talented girls, incredibly smart, talented girls that they just the thought of going into a field that they're minority, it just lowers the confidence that they have. They may start saying, no one else is their way. How am I going to survive? How am I going to be able to basically move ahead? But I would say, you know, to all the girls, they should really believe in themselves. They should have the confidence. If they like something, they should not just shy away because of the norm. Okay, and they should make sure that they follow through. They become resilient to be patient, become resilient into a lot of comments that somebody may make sense. What are you doing here? Because you should be in the other field. And I think that way they can advance, they can progress, they could have really high opportunities. Um, and they should be proactive. They should not be sitting at the end of the table all the time. They really need to try to self promote themselves and not be afraid of speaking up. They may get ignored, but eventually they're going to be heard, and I think it could be a really good opportunity for women actually.
Great. Thank you so much, Miriam, for joining our show. I'm sure our audience would benefit a lot from the insights you shared.
Thank you very much. It was very nice talking to you.